Alright. I think we're recording now. Looks like we're recording now. So let's get this started. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching this, and also want to thank everyone for responding to the marketing club so well. I know a lot of you guys are busy, really busy with all the stuff you're doing in your lives, and I am too. So I'm trying to make this club as consistent as possible and really give you guys the best I got, so you can get the most out of your time. Yes, that is the key point of this presentation, if you will. But this really just kind of some fun facts. I'm going to run through a few major points that really all have to get back to, really kind of getting you to think about focusing your time on the right things. And I know there are a lot of things right now that may seem like the right things, but if you got a specific goal and you really want to try to make that happen, time is going to be your best friend and your biggest enemy, and I'm sure you've heard that before. But anyways, time, the stuff life is made of. I'm going to start out over here. I got a clip for you. Brian Tracy is, you guys just look him up. He's kind of old school, but his methods are tried and tested, and he is one of the greats, one of the most successful people that I've ever learned from.
Time management can be viewed as a tool with which you can build a great life, marked by high achievement and a tremendous feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. Time management can be looked upon as a vehicle that can carry you from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. Time management can be seen as a set of personal disciplines that, once mastered, will enable you to be, have, and do anything you want or need to achieve whatever successes in life give you the greatest pleasure and happiness. This book is the result of more than 20 years of research and teaching in the area of personal effectiveness, and it's based on my 25 years of experience in sales, marketing, management, and consulting in more than 500 corporations. The more I studied success and successful people, the more obvious it became to me that they all had one thing in common. They all placed a very high value on their time, and they continually worked at becoming better organized and more efficient. I eventually came to the conclusion that no success is possible without excellent time management skills. You cannot even imagine a happy, fulfilled person whose life is in a state of disorganization and disarray. The best discovery I made was that when you develop the disciplines of time management, you simultaneously develop many of the other habits that lead to high achievement, wealth, and success in every part of your life. The starting point of developing good time management skills is for you to realize that time management is really life management. It is the way you take care of your most precious gift. As Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do you love life? Then do not squander time, for that's the stuff that life is made of." As you learn to master your time, you simultaneously master your life and take complete control over your future. A handbook for high performance.
All right, we'll stop that there. I really wanted to, I was listening to this the other day, to get that main point out there, that one thing that all successful people have in common is great time management skills. So something that I always try to work on every day, and by all means I'm not the greatest that there ever was at this, but if there was one thing that you could work on that could get you to have success, Brian Tracy says it's time management. So I listen to that and take it wholeheartedly in everything I do, and I have found a lot of great results by paying attention to this. So he's going to get into more. He talks about what you could accomplish 2 extra hours a day, but I want to ask you, if you could focus on what you could accomplish with 2 extra hours a day and really focus on those 2 hours, think about that thing that you would love to do during those 2 hours and really try to make that happen. That should be a goal of everyone. I try to work on engineering and mixing and rapping for 2 hours, but I don't ever always get it. Some people might want to be a singer, some people, sports players. So let's just say if you had 2 extra hours a week, that's 2 extra hours a day. That's 10 extra hours per week. That's 500 per year. 12 times 40, that's there's 12 40-hour work weeks that you would get extra practicing your skill, getting better at what you want to get at, moving towards your goal. And so I put this number down here. You can see it's 10,000 divided by 500 equals 20 years. We're going to talk about the 10,000 hour rule soon, but the 10,000 hour rule talks about how to really get to become a pro or an expert at any skill. You need to spend at least 10,000 hours, or a lot of studies have been done that talk about the greats, that they've spent this many hours doing this. You know, professional baseball players, 10,000 hours in the batting cage, or professional pitchers, or professional singers. So if you only get 500 extra hours per year, it's going to take you 20 years to get to 10,000 hours. So while you might think, oh yeah, 2 extra hours, that's a huge amount of time, I could do anything with that, well, you're still not even close. We're going to look at this next video about this, which let's see. Alright, nice, it's loading. But this is the talent code. This is based off a book I read a long time ago, and it's really just about practice. Yep, we're talking about practice.
What's the simplest way for you to
Ty
make
Lopez
6 figures?
Is up on my stuff all
Easy,
the
break
time.
it down like this. 8 people paying you $1,000.
Mastering any physical skill, be it performing a pirouette, playing an instrument, or throwing a baseball, takes practice. Practice is the repetition of an action with the goal of improvement, and it helps us perform with more ease, speed, and confidence. So what does practice do in our brains to make us better at things? Our brains have 2 kinds of neural tissue, gray matter and white matter. The gray matter processes information in the brain, directing signals and sensory stimuli to nerve cells, while white matter is mostly made up of fatty tissue and nerve fibers. In order for our bodies to move, information needs to travel from the brain's gray matter down the spinal cord through a chain of nerve fibers called axons to our muscles. So how does practice or repetition affect the inner workings of our brains? The axons that exist in the white matter are wrapped with a fatty substance called myelin, and it's this myelin covering, or sheath, that seems to change with practice. Myelin is similar to insulation on electrical cables. It prevents energy loss from electrical signals that the brain uses, moving them more efficiently along neural pathways. Some recent studies in mice suggest that the repetition of a physical motion increases the layers of myelin sheath that insulates the axons. And the more layers, the greater the insulation around the axon chains, forming a sort of superhighway for information connecting your brain to your muscles. So while many athletes and performers attribute their successes to muscle memory, muscles themselves don't really have memory. Rather, it may be the myelination of neural pathways that give these athletes and performers their edge with faster and more efficient neural pathways. There are many theories that attempt to quantify the number of hours, days, and even years of practice that it takes to master a skill. While we don't yet have a magic number, we do know that mastery isn't simply about the amount of hours of practice. It's also the quality and effectiveness of that practice. Effective practice is consistent, intensely focused, and targets content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of one's current abilities. So if effective practice is the key, how can we get the most out of our practice time? Try these tips. Focus on the task at hand. Minimize potential distractions by turning off the computer or TV and putting your cell phone on airplane mode. In one study, researchers observed 260 students studying. On average, those students were able to stay on task for only 6 minutes at a time. Laptops, smartphones, and particularly Facebook were the root of most distractions. Start out slowly or in slow motion. Coordination is built with repetitions, whether correct or incorrect. If you gradually increase the speed of the quality repetitions, you have a better chance of doing them correctly. Next, frequent repetitions with allotted breaks are common practice habits of elite performers. Studies have shown that many top athletes, musicians, and dancers spend 50 to 60 hours per week on activities related to their craft. Many divide their time used for effective practice into multiple daily practice sessions of limited duration. And finally, practice in your brain in vivid detail. It's a bit surprising, but a number of studies suggest that once a physical motion has been established, it can be reinforced just by imagining it. In one study, 144 basketball players were divided into two groups. Group A physically practiced one-handed free throws, while Group B only mentally practiced them. When they were tested at the end of the 2-week experiment, the intermediate and experienced players in both groups had improved by nearly the same amount. As scientists get closer to unraveling the secrets of our brains, our understanding of effective practice will only improve. In the meantime, effective practice is the best way we have of pushing our individual limits, achieving new heights, and maximizing our potential.
Alright, so that's the end of that. So I really wanted to show you guys that, because I was actually talking with Mitch the other day, and he was telling me, we talked about the 10,000 hour, but we were talking about it. A lot of people don't actually know that 10,000 hour rule, and I personally believe that that's one of the most valuable things that I've ever come across in my life. And even practicing effectively. I'm a coach. I coached sports for a long time, and so I really have always had to pay attention to using the best amount of time to practice. And so obviously I've been a musician too, and so that's always reoccurring. Practice makes perfect, but also correct practice. But yeah, at the end of the day, 10,000 hours, if it takes 10,000 hours to get those skills, when you're busy doing something else, maybe there's some other ways to go about trying to practice that through visualization or anything like that. But I also find that, I read this book and I learned this 5-6 years ago, but, it always helps to revisit this stuff, because it's so easily to get distracted and sway away from the true facts. So let's go to the next screen. Let's talk about success in music. So we all want to find success in music. I'll show you the spectrum, maybe put things into perspective. And this is actually, there's a lot of positivity, but we'll look at this one right here. Undiscovered artists, 90.7%. That's a very, very large amount. The mega artists, probably the ones that we all listen to most of the time, 0.2. That's like nothing, right? Out of 100, that's less than 2 people. So by those odds, all the people that are at KMG, maybe one will even be close to being a mega artist. But so that's really important to note. Developing artists, they're at 6.8%. That's probably most of us, right? So it still takes a lot of extra effort to get to that 1.4, and this all boils down to your willingness to sacrifice the time. They said in that video, 50 hours a week. These dancers worked on their craft. So really put that into perspective for yourself if you really want to get to where you're going and not be in that 6.8%, not be in that 1.4%. You're gonna have to go so much harder than everyone else. But let's look at this other graph. So this text down here says mid-size and mainstream artists make 1.1% of all artists, yet have 87.3% of all Facebook page likes. So that's actually that's encouraging, because if it were really skewed in the mega artists' favor, they would have about 99% of all Facebook page likes, but they don't. So it says smaller artists have more popularity on YouTube and Vivo, and Undiscovered get 9% of all artists' views, which is cool. You look at this other graph, right? And Undiscovered, it's a flipped version. Undiscovered here are only 2.5% of the views, right? 90% of people get 2.5% of the views on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, if you think about that. But only 53%, right? This 0.2% here only gets 53. That's still a lot, right? It's still a lot. These are the growing. And then the mainstream gets 34%. So these numbers are a little bit more skewed. And what I see about this is it certainly does help a lot to get yourself some views and some followers. Kind of the world's pushing towards the fact that even if you have all the talent, or you're really cool or really know what's up, if you don't have like a certain amount of views, you're not even going to get put into that category of people that should be, developing or anything like that. So, one thing maybe to focus on that would be important is to get some sort of followers or views on a specific platform. But let's look at next. I got the top artists, right? Who are they? Who is this 0.2%? And who's the best of all of them? Never mind. I have what makes you successful. Let's go through this first. So 1, lots of successful artists, they have no other choice, right? Bottom line, successful musicians are confident and adventurous enough to dive into their music careers head first. They don't fall back on part-time jobs. I spent a lot of time falling back on part-time jobs, and well, that hasn't got me anywhere. 2, they're willing to work hard and educate themselves. The bottom line, if you think that going into music will be an escape from doing real work, think again. You better work 10 times harder than everyone else if you want to get to where you want to go. And if not, then tough luck. 3, they don't mind living modestly. Bottom line, it's okay to dream big, but if the only reason you want to be a musician is because you think it'll get you a large house with a yacht, you'll quickly get weeded out. You gotta love what you do. You gotta love the practice and the process, and if you're doing it for a means to an end like a yacht, then probably we'll find other means to an end along the way. 4, they have patient, persistent attitude. Bottom line, instead of becoming preoccupied with trying to get a big break, most successful musicians nowadays focus on growing their careers gradually. I got a great example of someone who's done this, and I actually worked with him. It's taken him so long, 5-6 years, to actually get to the point where he's getting recognized, but it's really, really big payoff. You gotta take it slow and steady. 5, they're willing to and enjoy working on their craft every day. This goes down to the practice thing. If you don't want to put time into practice, you might be better suited as a hobbyist. 6, they're creative at generating income. Bottom line, successful musicians don't wait for opportunities to come to them. They seek them out or create them themselves. A really big point here is if you really think that you're gonna make it by selling $10 albums, penny a track, anything like that, getting streams. I told people in content class the other day that for every 1,000,000 views on YouTube, you only get $1,500, $1,500. So you have to be creative at generating income, and that's what this marketing club really is all about, is finding avenues to have success that may build off of music but aren't just music. So let's go to the next screen. This is where we're actually looking at the top 10, right? Maybe I'll click this instead of reading them. Top 10: Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Dr. Dre, Celine Dion, Madonna, Bono, P. Diddy, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, James Hetfield from Metallica. We'll go to this page, but one of the main things I wanted you to notice from that page was that these artists like P. Diddy, Sean Combs, he's not the most talented musician, and lots of these artists aren't the most talented musicians. I would have personally thought that maybe Eminem would be on here because I thought he sold a lot of records, but he's still not on here. And that's a really big thing to note, is that a lot of these people have different and creative ways to make money. They've started their own labels. They signed other artists. Dr. Dre obviously has beats. So what it really takes, and I'm just going to reiterate this, is obviously it takes a lot of hours. It takes dedication, but it takes the ability to be creative and open yourself up to new income pathways to get to where you really want to go in the music world. And especially right now, it's really easy. Well, it's not really easy, but you can get about 50,000 views and still be pretty much a no name, right? So you're going to want to at least initially think about what would you do with that money to keep yourself successful even after your musician career. We'll just go down here to the top contenders: Mozart, the man, Beethoven, and Elvis. Those guys, pretty cool. So anyways, I'm gonna close this off. I hope you guys got something out of this. Like I said, you may have known some of these things already, but I find that constantly thinking about this is a really good way to motivate myself to try that much harder to succeed. So part of this, I'm trying to motivate you guys. I'm also getting a lot out of it. I think this is great information. I wouldn't be where I am today without this information, and I still got a long way to go, but so that's the end of it. I'd love for you guys to give me feedback, tell me what you think, and tell me what you want to learn more about. We're going to get into the creative ways to make money in this marketing club, and I'm super excited to share that stuff with you guys too. But if you stayed to the end of this, awesome. I'm going to add this. Send me all of your music stuff. I'll send you mine. We can make ideas. I want you guys to get the most out of this as possible, and I want to make you guys better in any way that I can. I've been working on this marketing stuff for lots of businesses, and I find that it translates into music very well. So if you're working on something, let me know, and I'll hopefully see you in the marketing club one of these days. Over and out. Peace.